Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to a new edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Colton. To my far right, I got my main man, KJ, Kevin Johnson.
Right.
And today's special guest, this guy went to Florida Atlantic University. Had some scoring titles there. Also won a couple games in the tournaments in his conference. This guy right here is overseas now, playing with Les Sables. He's won a championship over there, and he's averaging about 13.7 points a game. We got shooting guard, Mr. Jackson Trapp. What's going on, Jackson?
What's up now?
What's going on, guys? Appreciate y'all having me on.
Oh,
I appreciate y'all having me on, man.
Hey, no problem.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. For the people that don't know you, Jackson, let them know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm from Orlando, Florida, born and raised there. Started playing basketball when I was young. I got three brothers. Two of them are older. My parents were athletes. My older brothers played a lot of basketball, so I was growing up playing it from an early age. And went to out of high school, didn't have any Division I offers, so I ended up going to prep school, which is a route that is actually getting more common now, but back then it wasn't too common. Was up in Virginia, Waynesboro, small town, Waynesboro, Virginia, and went to military school there. Actually, it was like a prep school, military school. So from there, I actually got some Division I offers. Basketball wise, was a success. So I ended up going to Florida Atlantic University, like you said, was there for 4 years. It was great experience there. Can't complain. Living in South Florida for 4 years, only 3 hours away from home, not too close, not too far. It was an awesome experience there. From there, rookie year, I played over in Canada. Didn't play long though. Broke my foot in like first game of the season or end of training camp, one of those right around then, and ended up getting cut because of that. So I had to play 2 years in America after that, and it's in a league called the TBL. I had successful years there, and then was fortunate enough to go over to Germany for 3 years. Was over there the past 3 seasons, and then now this year I got my foot in the door in France, and it's been great so far. No complaints.
All right. So take us back to childhood. What sport was your first love?
First love for it's got to be basketball. My dad was a big football player. He played college, NFL, and actually, they tried to get me and my brothers to play. Only one of my older brothers played. The rest of us just stuck with basketball and baseball.
All right.
But yeah, basketball is for sure the one that I started with first, I think, and then stuck with throughout.
Okay, cool. So you played basketball growing up as a kid. Who were some of your favorite players?
Growing up, man, it's
in the NBA.
NBA, yeah. I love JJ Redick. I love watching him. Especially now, like I'm a shooter now. The last few years I've become it's been the main thing I do. So JJ Redick was always a person that starting around early high school when he got drafted. Actually, before that, he got drafted to the Magic, in Orlando. So I loved him right away from then, and watched him a little bit at Duke also. He was always a fun player to watch. And nowadays I love watching Klay Thompson, obviously Curry. I love shooters. It's always fun to watch.
All right, cool. Yeah. So you go into middle school, you're playing basketball, you're shooting guard or point guard. You get to high school, your first year as a freshman, did you play JV, B team, or varsity?
Freshman year, I was fortunate enough to be on varsity. Our team wasn't very good, so that's why I was on varsity.
Oh, okay.
So varsity all 4 years in high school. Sophomore year is when we actually started becoming pretty good. And then kept progressively getting better. But freshman year I was on varsity.
All right.
Yeah. So when you was in high school, who was the competition in the area in Virginia?
Competition was solid. It was pretty good. we so I'm trying to think. So in Orlando, the big players then were, Austin Rivers was my age. In Winter Park, he was the best player in Florida, one of the best players in the country at the time.
Oh, okay.
Shane Larkin was a big player. We had a lot of good players, and I ended up playing. Some made it to the NBA, some are high level still overseas. But yeah, a lot of good players over there. Competition was pretty solid.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So tell us what it was like your first game started in high school. Was it freshman year, sophomore?
First game, what? Say that again.
The first game you started. Tell us about
First game
that.
I started.
Yeah, was it freshman, sophomore?
Taking me back, man. I don't even remember the first game I started. I know it was probably my freshman year.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, but I'm sure I was horrified. Of course.
That's
I look
enough.
back now at it. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm sure I was horrified. But it was a great experience. As time goes on, you obviously you get used to it, and that was a fun time back then. It was always good looking back. I still have friends from that team that I talk to nowadays. So it's good times back then for sure. But for sure, the first time I started, I was horrified.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the coach called me, told me I was starting, and I was from the jump, I was horrified.
Okay.
Yeah. So talk about the offenses y'all ran.
Back in high school.
Back in high school, yes.
Back in high school, it was a very structured. We actually, the flex offense. You guys know that. It's a structure. It's a lot of screen the screener type of offense. Is very, very structured. We played a very solid, I guess is the word to put, offense. Not a lot of freedom, not a lot of fluidity. So I'm trying to remember all the other stuff we did, but it was good overall. We were a good team, so it's hard to look back and be like, oh, we should have done this or done that, because we were a good team. We had talent, and we did pretty well each year.
Okay, cool. What was the highest points you scored in high school, in a high school game?
I think it was low 30s, like 32, 33 points.
Okay.
Right around there. We got up to that a few times. What's that?
Was it a playoff game or a regular season?
I think one was in a tournament, a big tournament. It was like a national tournament. It was like the semifinals, or the quarters, I think, against a team from Maryland, a high-profile team from Maryland, and we ended up losing by a couple points. But that was one of the games. And another game, I think, was a regular season game where I think I had 31 or 32 or something.
Okay. So did you go off and play in any All-Star games?
I did. After my senior year, they had those local All-Star games. I played in a few of those. With the main point of those is like college scouts will come. It's a lot of times it's unsigned seniors. Some guys are already signed, but there'll be a lot of unsigned seniors, and so it's a chance for the scouts to come in and take a look at some of the top talent around the area of guys that haven't signed yet. So I did playing, I think, 2 of them after my senior year.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are always fun.
Oh, all right. Yeah, talk about the recruiting process. What teams was looking at you at that time, besides FAU?
Yeah. So FAU wasn't even looking at me at that point. I didn't have no Division I offers coming out of high school. I had a few Division II offers, local Florida schools. Eckerd College, Rollins College was interested. Honestly, I would have gone to Rollins College if they offered me. It's a school in Orlando. It's a really good school in Orlando, Division II school. But I ended up deciding not to do that. I ended up going to prep school to see if maybe I could get a Division I offer from there, and did that, and did a good year. It was worst year of my life, because military school, I'm not a military guy, man. It's tough. that was a tough year for sure, but it was great for basketball. I learned a lot of lessons, grew both physically and mentally. So it was a good year basketball wise.
Okay, cool. So you went to prep school before you went to college. So talk about the campus and the difference between the prep school experience and the Florida Atlantic University experience.
Oh man. Oh geez, where to start? Night and day. Yeah, it was a huge difference. I was in so it was a military school, like I said. So it was a all guys military high school, pretty much. Like all the students or cadets were high school students. So we were the oldest ones. Our team, we were just graduated high school, so we were older than everyone. It was a small town, Waynesboro, Virginia, middle of nowhere, and we couldn't leave campus. We left campus either for games or like once every other week to like go get groceries or something. So it was complete opposite from from college, from what I had started experiencing the following year. But it was good. I learned a lot. It's good to have something a year like that where you can really go into the trenches. Our coach was crazy at the time, man. I've had some crazy coaches. Coach
What's the
Hoagie
crazy
was
thing a coach did?
man,
Was it punishment or was it just the way he said things? What was it?
the way he said things, the way he was almost getting fights with players. He was just screaming nonstop. He was a military guy himself, so he was just screaming nonstop. And mentally it's tough when you're that age. I was only 18, 19 years old, away from home for the first time, at a military school, no freedom. So I'm locked up doing just classes and basketball 24/7. And mentally it's tough, and then having a coach like that's constant. You get to practice and he's just constantly screaming at you. It'll make you grow quick, it matures you quick. So I while I was there, it was very tough, but now looking back in hindsight, it was worth it. It learned a lot from it.
Yeah. So going through the military school, what did y'all do for fun? Like as far as with your teammates, you gotta have a little small time for something,
Yeah, there was. My teammates are what kept me sane over there. Literally, it was very tough. Our teammates, we were all in it together, obviously. So it was something to where we kind of, misery needs company type of thing, where we were all together and we were in it together, and it was it. For fun, we play video games, I guess, but they would cut the internet off at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. The lights had to be off, internet had to be off. So yeah, man, it was tough. So it was, yeah, there'd be times I'd say once every month or two, we would be able to leave campus to some guys lived in Virginia, some of the teammates. So we'd go to their spot over the weekend whenever we didn't have a game. That was nice. That was good. That happened a few times throughout the season. But like I said, it was one of those things where we knew we were in it together, so we kind of just laughed at our, enjoy, went through the pain together, and that helped a lot.
Man. Who was the coach or the player that embraced you to the prep school, that military prep school that made you feel comfortable a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, like while I was there?
Yeah.
All the teammates were great. They I'm trying to think of who. We had to stay in a tiny little dorm, and I had a roommate. So it was a little tiny one bedroom, smaller than an average bedroom for two people. And so I think my teammate, Spencer Parker, he helped me a lot. We had to. It's inevitable, right? If you're living with the person you're going in a tiny little area like that, you're gonna get to know each other really well. I think he helped me a lot. A few other guys were really good in helping me get through it all. That I talk to still today.
So did you spend 2 years there or one?
Just one, fortunately.
All right. So from leaving the prep school, what were the other teams that were looking at you on the D1 level? Let me ask this question too. What was your average there at the prep school?
The prep school, we had a lot of, so we had 10 guys. I'd say that 10 out of 12 of the guys ended up going Division I. Okay. Yeah, we were one of the best teams in the country. I points wise, I was probably averaging 15 points a game, I'd say.
Yeah,
Right around then. At one of the maybe possibly the leading scorer there on the team there. But it's yeah, I think it's something like that. The prep school world is crazy. It's especially back then. It was such an underground thing. Like no one knew about it. We played against guys that are now in the NBA that all went the prep school route. You know, and you never realize that. You know, you never think of the prep school as a alternative to just going straight to college.
Yep. So you go to Florida Atlantic. Who are some of the other teams that are looking for you in D1?
Say that again. Oh, that were looking at me. Yeah, you did ask that. So actually, I was before FAU. I was signed to Winthrop University. Which is in South Carolina there, Winthrop and Rock Hill. Yeah. I was committed there, but then the coach got fired and I ended up backing out, and then going to FAU. So Winthrop, I committed to them early and signed to them early, so I didn't have as many schools as normal as I probably would have if I waited. But IUPUI was another school. You know, a couple other mid majors. No high majors, but a couple mid majors were interested, and then signed to Winthrop pretty early, but backed down and went to FAU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what coach or player welcomed you to Florida Atlantic?
We had Mike Jarvis was the head coach going into going in when I was going into my freshman year at FAU. He was a great guy. He welcomed me in. He's the one that talked to me. Coach Kane is actually the one that recruited me. Tim Kane. He was the assistant coach at FAU at the time, and he's with LSU now. And he is the one that brought me in, that welcomed me in, got me accustomed, fitted in where I needed to be. And then in terms of teammates, one of my best friend, Spanish kid, was a freshman with me, and barely spoke any English, so I was his translator a lot of times. And so me and him became really good friends really early on. And we all 4 years, as players came in and out from transferring, coming in from other schools, me and him were the only ones that stayed all 4 years, and became really close from that.
That's good.
Okay. All right. So you get to Florida Atlantic, down there in South Florida. Talk about the atmosphere and I guess the classroom setting. Go there to study.
So I had no idea what I wanted to study. I ended up studying marketing. Wanted to go, a general route. But yeah, marketing is what I ended up studying. The atmosphere in general down in South Florida, I mean, it's hard to beat that. South Florida. It's Boca Raton, Florida. So it's about 45 minutes north of Miami. So it's a really nice town, nice city, and it's atmosphere is great. It's right on the beach. It's only a mile and a half away from the beach, so it's very, very nice surroundings and area to be in.
Okay.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah. So playing for Florida Atlantic, who was the competition in that conference as well?
Top teams normally when I was there was UAB, so University of Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham. That's right.
Yeah. Who else? Louisiana Tech was big then, and then we got some teams over in Texas. We got Rice University, Texas San Antonio. FIU is our rival, Florida International, which is a school down in Miami. Yeah, so we had some good teams. The teams that made it to the tournament when I was there is usually Middle Tennessee, UAB, Louisiana Tech. Those were the best schools at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some highlights we're going to go ahead and get into for everybody that's watching.
Okay.
Tuning in. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and Deezer. We have today's special guest, former shooting guard from Florida Atlantic University, and now Les Sables, shooting guard. He's over in France. Jackson Trapp. All right. We're going to go ahead and get into the highlights. We don't own any rights to the music or the film, so let's go ahead and get into it. Stay tuned with us. We'll be right back. ask more questions with our guests. Thank you.
All right. Hit that like button. Back down memory lane.
Yeah, man, throwback there.
Yeah,
I like it.
well, definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jermaine, you're on mute.
Okay.
There we go. There we go.
Who was the toughest person to guard in your conference?
Ooh, that's a good question. So when I was at UAB, they had who I'm actually friends with now, Robert Brown. He was a shooting guard, about a 6'5" shooting guard. He could shoot, get to the basket. It was tough. Whenever you guard someone that can shoot and get to the basket, it's tough. You got to close out tight on them, and then if they're getting to the basket, if they're skilled at getting to the basket, crafty enough to get there, it's tough to guard. So he was one of those guys. Another guy that I'm friends with now, Speedy Smith. He was a point guard at Louisiana Tech. He was a great point guard. Probably, I think he was first team All Conference USA a couple years in a row. He was always tough to guard because he always had an outlet. Wherever he went, I thought I'd have him guarded, and he would always find a way out. So yeah, a lot of good players. I'm sure there's some guys that I'm missing out that I forget about, but definitely some good players there.
Yeah. While you was in college, did you ever hit a game-winning shot? And how did that feel celebrating with your teammates?
Yeah, man. That last one on that highlight film, that last shot was a game winner against Louisiana Tech. We were down, which is actually crazy. We were down 24 points in the second half.
24 points?
Down 24 points like at halftime, like a few minutes into the second half. A crazy run, came back, and I'd been shooting terrible that game. I think I was 0 for 7 so far from 3, and I hit the game-winning 3 at the end, and with it wasn't a buzzer. There was I think there was 1.5 seconds left after I hit it. But either way, it was a game-winning 3, and that was awesome. It had a little pile at the end, and I think it is the biggest comeback in FAU history. So that was pretty cool.
Nice, man. Yeah, you made up for it, man. Cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, had to make one of them.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's the one to make if I had to pick.
Yeah, that's the one right there.
Right.
So let me ask you, how far did you guys go in the conference tournament?
Yeah,
conference tournaments. We I think we made it to the. We never went far. Whenever we got to the conference tournament, we always struggled for whatever reason. I think we got to the so the quarterfinals, I think, was the farthest we went. We never got very deep into the conference tournament, and so because of that, we never got to the NCAA tournament, which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's as far as we got.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What was your most favorite moment at Florida Atlantic University on the basketball court?
That game winner was awesome. That was nice. That's definitely up there. We beat Harvard when they were ranked. I think they were 12-1 at the time, and we beat them. They came to our place, and we beat them. That was huge. That was big. Beating UCF is always nice. Which UCF, Central Florida, and Orlando, my hometown team. It's always nice to beat them. We beat them twice throughout my career, and I think those are the top memories for me.
Okay.
Yeah, coming out of college, talk about getting ready for the NBA before you went overseas to play professional basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was actually considering not playing professional. My coach at the time, he convinced me. He hooked me up with an agent that he knew, and I did. I wasn't fortunate enough to get any NBA workouts at the time, but I had some leagues looking at me, and I ended up going to up to Canada, which has actually a lot of talent. It's a very underrated league. A lot of guys coming from the NBA, either got cut or were in the G League, or summer camp, they ended up getting cut. So a ton of talent up there. And what's interesting about up there, you can have 10 Americans, whereas over in Europe, the most you can have on most teams is like 4 or 5. So there's a lot of talent up in Canada. So that's where I ended up going my rookie year.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's take a look at some more highlights real quick.
Oh, we got more. Okay.
Yeah, I got more. I guess this is you working out and going against a team We do not own the rights or to the music on this film. Also, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and Deezer, Instagram. We have special guests, Florida Atlantic University, and Les Sables, shooting guard, Jackson Trapp. All right, let's go ahead and get into that video, and we'll come back and ask some more questions. Okay. All right, we're back. What team was that? I can't pronounce the name.
So that was Paderborn. That was my team in Germany.
Yep. Talk about that experience of playing in that league.
That was good. It was my first year over in Europe. That was my, I finally got the chance to get my foot in the door in Europe, which is big. It's tough to do for a lot of Americans. There's so many Americans, and there's not a lot of job offers. So being able to go over there was a huge opportunity for me. Steve Esterkamp was the coach there. He's a great coach. Within the first few weeks of being there, I learned so much more about basketball than I probably had learned in the past 5 years in the States. It's a very different game over here in Europe, and I was very fortunate to have a coach that is a top level coach even over here in Europe. So learned a lot. So it was good there. I was there for 3 years, and we made the playoffs every year. COVID interrupted one of the years, really 2 of the years, but it was good experience overall.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you muted, KJ? Get that.
You hear me now?
Back to you. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I was saying, how was you able to stay focused being a long way from home, playing basketball overseas?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's tough. In my opinion, the seasons are way too long over here. I'll be gone for 9-10 months out of the year. So it's tough mentally to come over here, leave everyone, leave family, leave relationships. It's tough. But you just gotta, at the same time, you gotta look at the bright side. I'm had the chance to travel the world. Something people dream to do, like travel the world to play basketball. It's something that it's hard to complain when you think about it like that. There's a lot of negatives with anything you do in life. There's a lot of negatives. So just focusing on the positive, and that's a big positive. I get to travel the world in a first world country, because I know a lot of people that play in the Middle East and certain countries in South America that aren't the safest. Small countries over in Asia. So I was able to play in Germany, which is a great, beautiful country. So I had to stay focused on those positive things, and that helped a lot.
That's right.
All right. So you're playing with Les Sables out in France. How many seasons have you played with them?
This is my first year here.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Talk about the experience out in France, some of your teammates, and what you took from Germany over into this league.
Yeah. So I was in the second division over there in Germany, the second level. In each country, there's several levels. In Germany, there's about 4, I guess you could say 5 professional levels. I was in the second from the top. I was hoping my numbers were right on the border from moving up to the top league. There were some teams interested, but just never pulled the trigger. So after 3 seasons, I decided to try another country. And France, beautiful country, of course. I'm right on the water. It was a little bit more money, so I decided to come over here. And I brought, like I said, I had a great coach over in Germany, so I brought over everything I learned over there. I'm trying to bring over here. And, every year it's just a continual grind, continual development of my game, both mentally and physically. At this point, as I'm getting older, I'm 30 now, so young in real life, but as in basketball terms, starting to get a little older. The physical health is big too. So that's as I'm getting older, I'm getting better at taking care of my body, eating well, getting enough sleep, making sure I do treatment every day. Those things come a long way and help every day in my game.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You mentioned your diet. What is one of your favorite meals you like to eat over there?
So I'm not a great cook, but I make a few things and I like it. I make chicken, chicken, rice, veggies, the basic stuff. I love ground beef bowl is one of my things. Just mix a bunch of vegetables in with ground beef and rice. But actually last week is my first time I made stuffed peppers. I'm getting fancy now. Like it was so basically peppers with stuffed peppers.
Yeah.
With rice, stuffed with rice and ground beef and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. It was good. That was by far the best meal I've ever made. So I'm improving.
There you go.
What do you like to do for fun if you don't have practice?
There you go.
Yeah. So we get a lot of that. That's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. At the professional level, you get a lot of, we don't have school. Most people don't have school, so there's a ton of free time over here. One thing I've done in the last few years is I started. I actually have another job. I work with a startup that's over in Florida, one of my friend's companies.
Okay.
I do that, so that takes up a lot of my time. And then I'm also, on top of that, whenever I'm not doing those 2 things, I'm studying to become a data scientist. So I'm doing that a lot. So my free time is usually occupied with those 2 things. But other than that, every once in a while I'll throw on a movie, hang out with friends. On the weekends I'll grab my teammates. We'll go and get a drink. But yeah, just things that going out with teammates is always important. Just the social chemistry, seeing each other outside of the court. So I try to do that whenever I can too.
That's good.
Okay. All right, cool. So right now, I see you averaging 13.7 points. Are you guys on a break right now, or are you still in mid-season?
So we're in mid-season right now. We had a game 2 days ago. I wasn't able to play. I've actually missed. Speaking of physical health, I've had to miss 5 of the last 7 games because first I missed 3 games for sprained ankle, and then I partially pulled my hamstring last week, so I missed the last 2 games. We got another game on Tuesday. Hopefully, I can play in that. But yeah, mid-season right now.
Okay, all right. So, do you have good trainers that give you good regimen for your ankle, hamstring? I mean, like, is the pain on a level to like 1 to 10? Is it a 5 right now? Like,
Right now my ankle's good. That was my first injury, and I played 2 games, and then my last game last week that I played in is when I pulled the hamstring. So right now it's the hamstring that that I'm dealing with. The hamstring is getting better. We have really good trainers here, and they're always on me to make sure I'm doing the right things every day, getting treatment every day, sometimes twice a day. Just to get me back in as quickly as possible. So yeah, it varies on different teams, but here it's good. It's nice, and honestly, that's the one. I know you guys playing at the Division I level in college. You're so spoiled over there. You're so spoiled in college. It's crazy. Like I didn't realize it until I went and played professionally, and it's night and day the difference between how many resources you have at the college level compared to when you come overseas. Even at the highest level, it's not. I mean, unless you're in the NBA, anything overseas for the most part, you're not getting the type of quality treatment or like the type of the amount of resources that you can get in college. And I wish it. So it makes me like want to go back and like really take advantage of all the resources we had, the free meals, the unlimited trainers, all the equipment that we could have had, but yeah. I mean, with that being said, though, it's still nice over here. They're taking care of me here for sure.
That's good. So, any message for the youth, that might want to follow your footsteps one day?
Yeah. Where to start? I mean, one thing, I guess this would be more towards the older youth, guys in high school, guys in college, especially in college. I would say, there's a saying where you should, show me your 5 best friends and I'll show you who you are. It's a huge, I never realized it until the past couple of years, but that is a huge thing to take seriously. If you're hanging around people that aren't doing the right thing, there's a 99% chance that you're not going to be doing the right thing, that you're not going to end up in the right place. The last few years I've started, like I said, I working with a company, and those guys are so driven. They're so, they're working nonstop. They're always marketing. They're always networking. They're always meeting new people. And, it inspires me. It really makes me want to level up my game, and so that's one of the reasons why I started studying outside of work and basketball, just because I know that there's always information to gain. There's always things to learn, and because I hang around the right people, I've now come to realize that. So hanging around the right people, especially in college, it can be a very drastic difference,
Yes.
as you guys know.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there's going to be partying and all that stuff, but there's a difference between doing too much of it and just the occasional time to socialize with your friends. You know what I mean? So being around the right people is a reflection of who you are, 100%. If you're with the right people, it's a great thing. If you're not with the right people, then you'll find out soon that it's not a great thing. Yeah. So that's one thing. Actually, I had another thing too that just came to my head. I guess this would be for basketball specific. When I remember when I was in middle school, there was a lot of times where there were kids that were twice the size of other kids, and really, I guess you could say, getting taken advantage of because they hadn't hit puberty yet or haven't grown to their full potential yet physically. And to those kids, I just want to let you know that just to be patient. You know, there's a lot of middle schoolers that are, you know, 5 feet tall and they're playing against guys that are 6'3" because they grew 2 years before. So for all those kids, don't be discouraged when you are up against that type of thing. Just give it a few years, be patient, and usually you'll grow up and be at their level soon. There's a lot of guys that I was so intimidated to play against on the basketball court when I was that age. And just a few years later, you know, freshman, sophomore, junior year of high school, I saw them again, and we were the same size. You know what I mean? And I was, so it's a huge thing for that middle school age for kids not to be discouraged when they see guys that are bigger doing better than them at that time. You know, so it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's good.
Any shout outs before we leave? Any shout outs to any former coaches or teachers, family, friends, fans?
Shout outs, man. I got a ton of shout outs, man. I mean, my family, of course. My brother Nick, actually, I got to give him a shout out to. My brother's actually a basketball trainer. Yep. He at TNT Elite Hoops in Orlando, Florida. Okay. And honestly, if I didn't have him, I probably wouldn't be playing basketball still. I'm able to go into his gym whenever I want. I live a block away when I'm back home in Orlando in the off season. So being able to be in his gym all the time is huge. And honestly, without him, I probably wouldn't be playing still. So shout out to him. Shout out to the rest of my family that is on me and making me work out even when I don't want to. Shout out to my German family if they're out there listening. I had a German host family that welcomed me in with open arms. That really helped me have that home feeling that made me feel safe when I was gone for so long overseas. Shout out to everyone on watching. We're watching in the future. Shout out to y'all.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you coming on the show, Jackson. It was great to have you.
Of course, guys.
Meet you and hear your story. For everybody else that's watching, thank you for tuning in. Just watch another edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter. To my far right, I got my main man, KJ, Kevin Johnson. And again, I want to thank my special guest from Florida Atlantic University, and now Les Sables. He plays out in France. He's right now in the season. We want to wish him luck. Jackson Trapp, all right? We'd love to have you back.
Thank you, guys.
And we'd love to talk to you, all right?
Appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate it. It's great meeting you all. Everyone hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff.
That's right,
yeah, sir. Well, we appreciate you. For everybody that you usually watch our show, you know how we end it. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, all right? Until next time, you guys be safe, and we'll see you later. Peace.
See you guys.
All right.